Subrata Roy, who was the founder of Sahara Group, has passed away. He's died. My colleague Rakesh Khar, editor, TV9 Mediaverse, is joining us on the show. Rakesh, good to have you here on the show. Thank you for taking time out. Subrata Roy leaves behind a rich legacy, but also a position that is vacant at the moment. What sort of plans do we have for succession? What do we know?
Hi, Shweta and Kartik. Very good morning to both of you. It's a sad day for the Sahara family, and I have had the opportunity to work there and work closely with Subrata Roy Sahara. Right now, we're not getting into the right and wrong of his business dealings, where the law enforcement agencies are probing him and his companies. But to answer your specific question about the succession plan, he has two sons who are actually in the business already. But the business itself is in a very topsy-turvy state. So in that sense, reading too much into what exactly happens to the business going forward is obviously difficult. The business has moved from being extremely bullish to being extremely bearish, and there is uncertainty, large amount of uncertainty actually, facing the group as such, which at one point of time was considered one of the most diversified business groups in the country. Talking of Sahara Shri, as he's referred to within the company, and the world also knows him like that. He's a maverick businessman. I'm reminded of a very famous couplet from the movie Pyasa, where we do talk about ye murda paraston ki basti hai. So for the day we will extol his virtues, and there are many of them as I see them. First of all, I think he had great respect for journalists. I am reminded of a very, very tricky situation that I was in. I was the group business editor, and we were doing the Jet Sahara deal, which obviously went through a lot of twists and turns, like all corporate takeover and acquisition deals happen. This was no different. And believe me, not even once did I get a call from the promoters, except the fact that their lawyer was in touch, like the Jet lawyer. So in that sense, I think that amount of freedom coming from a non-traditional media company owner is remarkable. And his own attributes as an individual, we do remember, all of us, that he have had a very difficult time in between, when he was supposed to be seriously ill, he was missing, and there were all kinds of theories about his existence and identity. So when he came back, and the first thing he did, he came to the Sahara campus, and he came in his traditional band baja barat, as we used to call it, and he played a 3-hour long badminton game. Early days in Sahara campus, he'd set up a badminton court to try and tell the world that he's fit and he's mentally strong. So that was his character. I have seen him going through very difficult times, and trying to brave up to the challenge. I was there from 2005 till about 2009. And lastly, I think one very, very important impression that I would carry from him is his deep insight into the Petrol India story. He's someone who was one of the first guys to, one, invest in media, that to language media, and also realize the importance of how, each state is going to play a very, very important role in determining the growth story of India. And his own policies, his commitment to, on the face of it, to the India growth story, with that Bharat Bhav, IP that he, launched and then nourished every year. The way he mushroomed and encouraged and nurtured talent across domains, from the field of entertainment to sports. It's unimaginable that after the, I think, 2007 World Cup victory that India had over Pakistan in the T20 match, he hosted both the teams at his famous, Sahara Share in Lucknow. So, remarkable guy, ahead of his times, but had his own run-ins with the law enforcement agencies.
Rakesh, what happens to the Sahara Group now? Because I think Sahara Group was pretty much, there was just one name that ever stood out, and that name was Subrata Roy. So, is there any sort of, merit in looking at succession at a company which in any case has been embroiled in so many controversies, from the chit fund scam to, to defrauding so many, people across the country, and those who did not have access to great funds. So, is this with his death, do we pretty much say that it's the end of all the controversies and all the scams that he was also involved in? And at another level, does it also ring death bells for Sahara Group as an entity in whatever form it exists today?
Well, I think some of the cases that are pending against the group where he's at the forefront, he's no longer there, but the cases will prolong. There is a new fund that SEBI has organized now, where the remit is that they'll refund everyone who was allegedly defaulted, which Sahara denied all through, and that process is on. It's a large corpus. That apart, in terms of what is remaining in the business, they have a insurance business as well. They had a chit fund business, which was the primary driver. They were in aviation, which they exited. They were in FMCG, which was again a failed attempt. So in that sense, I don't see a great future for the business going forward. The two children, two sons are there actually. His wife is also active, but she's not been aligned in the business as such. Two sons at when the business was thriving, one was looking after the aviation business and more consumer facing business, and the other one was looking at the insurance and the chit fund business. So it's going to be very difficult to start
Right.
afresh, though if they learn from their father, he had this great capability to to stage a serious comeback. So if they have the metal and the DNA, they could start afresh. You never know. Never write the obituary of Indian businessmen. We were just looking at the Dabur story. We were looking at the Ashni Grover story. There is turbulence in air for the entire corporate India when it comes to corporate governance issues. Sahara represented the good, bad, and ugly piece. So rightly.
Okay, good, bad and ugly. Rakesh, since you were there, you worked there, what went wrong? From one of the most diversified or diverse conglomerate employing a lot of people to 1.2 million people to now a non-existent entity, if I may say so. What went wrong?
I think, a couple of things went wrong. I'm saying from the outside, not as much being inside. I gave you the inside perspective as an employee. Outside, this unbridled, ambition to diversify into areas where you have no core competency. That's one. And second, their core business, entity, which is chit funds, that over a period of time came into, regulatory surveillance, and it had to come because, rightly or wrongly, there was a business model where the tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities needed someone to lend money to them at when it was not so easily available. The traditional banking routes were blocked for these people who had no access to capital. So he made a fortune out of that. And then I think somewhere down the line he lost the trust because the business model from the outside, I can say, was very wicked, if I can use that word. Because if you have to pay say 5 rupees daily, and if you are not able to pay on the 10th month, 5th day, you forfeit most of the money that you have. So the model came under surveillance. The model came under threat from other alternate sources of finance available to people at the grassroots level, and then ultimately undue diversification. That is the story, I think, of Sahara. And finally, the law caught up, and I personally, his inability to manage the system, which he did so well from Lucknow to Delhi to South. I must tell you that he was one person who had friends across the political spectrum, and
Right.
early on, he built his equity in BJP, in Congress, in left more so. But over a period of time, he didn't manage himself well, especially in dealing with the courts and the judiciary. And that's where I think, he was wrongly advised. He should have been able to, come clean on all the charges that were leveled against him.
All right, Sahara Group chairman has died at 75.